Central theme of this gathering, we want to talk about design, because design is on the beginning of every new idea, etc. And so how is design related to circular? We made that our central theme for today. Now, maybe some of you already know me or seen me before. Just a short introduction. My name is Isrid van Geuns. When I'm not on stage, I like to stage other people because my agency is focusing on the recruitment of talent and the development of talent in the fashion and the luxury industry, which also means a lot of technology and a lot of sustainability. And I'm very proud and happy to be able to moderate these talks and to have a super great panel ready for you to introduce themselves. So let's start with that. Anisha, maybe you first.
Yeah, thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Anisha, and I'm from a textile studio called BYBORRE. And I am a sustainability researcher there. So a little bit about my background, that I come from a fashion background. So I've worked as fashion designer with various fashion houses and also, you know, big garment manufacturing houses in India as well. So I've seen the industry, how, you know, wasteful or polluting it is. So I wanted to change a bit of my direction. So I went into studying and doing a master's in sustainable design and materials in London. And then after graduating there, I really wanted to work at a company that, you know, was doing good for the people, but also for the planet, and also changing the textile industry a little bit. And that's where BYBORRE comes in. So it's an innovative textile studio where you can produce bespoke, responsible textiles. So we have a digital platform called Create, where you can go up and design your own textiles from yarn up to, you know, even producing products if you like. So it's more about giving control back to the creators, as we call the designers, because 80% of the emission, or, you know, comes from at design stage or before the design stage. So through this platform, you're actually able to, you know, control and make conscious choices.
We will talk about that a bit more later.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Stijntje.
Yes.
Thanks,
well,
Anisha.
also, thank you for having me. I'm Stijntje Jaspers. I've worked for 25 plus years as a designer and head of design in the brands and retail in the Netherlands, so in the linear business. And I stopped doing this because it was not fitting my values anymore. I was only making nice concepts and new color cards to sell more and to convince people you really need something new, which is not fitting with the planetary boundaries and also not with the social system that I believe in. So I also studied a lot. Anyway, I'm not going to tell everything because we have to be short. So I studied, I changed my mind, and then I realized that it's important to go into a biocircular economy. Because I believe everything is part of nature and we depend on nature. Nature does not need us, but we need nature. And if you look at nature, it's a regenerative system. It supports itself. There is no waste. So I thought we have to also do this in the textile industry, and that's why I co-founded, and I'm now chair of Fibershed Netherlands, which is an affiliate of Fibershed.org, which is a global network of now 58 affiliates. And what we do, we look at the bioregion that you're in. What do we have, and what can we grow to make textiles and clothing in a local supply chain?
Super, Stijntje. Arnoud.
My name is Arnoud Vliet. I work for Zeeman.
I think the mic is not on.
I started.
Sorry,
Is
Arnoud.
his mic on or not?
Jan, is his mic on?
Oh, sorry.
I started working at Zeeman in 2011. We started with focus on social compliance, and since a few years we also make our first steps towards a more circular business.
Super. Annemieke?
Yeah, my name is Annemieke Koster. I'm a weaver. Skip? No. I'm founder of Enschede Textielstad. We're a sustainable weaving mill based in the east of the Netherlands. I'm also one of the chair people and founders of TextPlus. It's a foundation of 6 partners, all in different steps in the supply chain of circular textiles. So from collecting textiles at households to chemically and mechanically recycling textile to fibers and eventually spinning and weaving it. And I started blissfully ignorant without any knowledge of the textile chain. But that really helped in shaping an industry the way I thought made sense instead of just following the system. And I think that's the same that we do with TextPlus, that we really are value-driven and try to solve all the difficult things that we face in making the textile industry truly circular.
Thanks, Annemieke. So as said, we really want to talk about design, to start with a new idea, having a product in mind, having a dream. It all bottles down to where we start as a designer or a design team. And it's interesting, I don't know if some of you already attended the presentations of this morning, but I already discovered a red thread, which is cooperation. We should work more together, we should share more, and also the importance that we, as a designer, already think about this post-consumer circulation and to bring that with us. So I was curious, are we having product designers and product developers in the audience? Can you raise your hand? Okay, that's super. I'm not a scientist, but I think Anisha will be 18%. Yeah. So, we have a central question. We are going to ask each of our panelists to answer it. And again, feel free to comment or have a question. But our central question would be, how can we support you as a designer or support design teams in general to think and embrace a more circular way of designing? So let me start with Annemieke. Can you answer that question first from your perspective? How do you think we can support designers, design and design teams better?
I think in many ways, but most importantly, I think education is key, and also technical education. So Saxion does a great job in Enschede with a really technical program that learns students how to design products and materials in a sustainable and functional way. And I think that also collaborating with students within your organization really helps. So not only see a thesis as something that they have to do for your company, but also go back and forth and learn from those research steps.
And already learn to collaborate maybe also. Yeah. Right, great. And Arnoud, you at Zeeman, a retailer, big company, how do you answer that? How can you support the designers or design teams with their ideas to be more circular?
Yeah, I think it's good to emphasize that we design everything in-house, and I believe we started a few years ago as a CSR department, to engage more with our styling department, and we also reached out to external stakeholders like Modint, who organized a workshop together with the buying team and the styling team and the CSR team to see what different topics are related to circularity and how we can implement this in the design stage.
Yeah.
And nowadays we are finalizing our design practices. So we also organized a workshop last week for capacity building, so that our design teams are also more involved and are aware of their the options they have.
The possibilities, and that's great. And you mentioned Modint, and I forgot to mention that. But the whole thing was never happened if we hadn't had Modint to co-organize this, and if we hadn't had ClickNL to finance it. So I think that's really, really important, because we need funding and energy for all this we are organizing. So thank you for reminding me of that. Stijntje, how would you answer that question, also coming from a design background?
Yes, I think I agree with all these things said, but it's also, I think it's important as a designer, for your own mindset, to realize, at least that's what happened with me, that I realized that, first of all, you want to do less bad, and that's this whole system change now going on. But actually, as a designer, you can also do good. And that is if you really think in a regenerative way and really look at the economy and a business and nature as a living system. It sounds a little bit
No,
vague.
love it.
But to do this, you have to look at the whole. It's now sometimes it's a line, but you have to look at the whole system. And I remember when I was a designer, you started from yarn or fabric, and then you know it's polyester or cotton. Okay, fine. And then you design your clothing, you fit, and you finalize, and then it's sold. And then before the yarn or the fabric, and after it's sold, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not on your radar. And if you then think that this is not part of a regenerative system, then you should really think and get involved in the part before you choose your materials. Where is it made? How is it made? Did the people get a good wage? Were the pesticides used? Is it from oil-based or plant-based, etc.? And also at the end, when people buy it, how long can they do with it? How it is washed? When it is tossed away, is it easy to recycle, etc.? And I think this, if you keep this circle in mind, and if you really believe in it, you will make the totally different choices. And you will not put a lot of studs and prints and extra fabrics and new stitches, etc., because it's a trend. You can still make nice things, but you will not do this because it's almost impossible to recycle. So I really helped me to make this mind shift, and also the idea that I can actually do something good as a designer, not only less bad.
Yeah, no, that's great, and it quickly reminds me that we had a panel talk here before, and there was something by the CEO of Symphony, the recycling company. She said, in this realm that you're talking about, thinking more holistic, she had a remark about that we even don't take in consideration in our cost calculations the fact that we also have to break it down, and that we don't put that even in our pricing and in our cost calculation. And I think that's also for the ones who are working with, like, you know, the building up with cost, etc., that is a very good idea to, you know, already embrace circular more. Anisha, you're a designer, researcher, etc. How do you answer that question? How can we embrace that more, the circularity?
Yeah, I think bouncing off from you, I think at BYBORRE, it's first of all, the design platform we have is, you know, that we only produce on demand.
Yeah.
And the main function of it is to actually look at what you are designing for. So function really plays into it, you know, where the textile will be used, how it will be used. So you are able to design specifically, let's say, I don't know, if you have to design something for inside of the car, something for your house, maybe a garment like this that I'm wearing. So you can, from the beginning, decide what the textile will be used for, and then the processes along with it. So that's really important, but also, you know, looking at where it comes from and how it's made and everything. So we have a textile passport, as we call it, so you can trace back to where the raw material is coming from, you know, where it came from, how it was processed, where it was processed. And we also have a physical space in Amsterdam where you can physically walk through the whole value chain. So you go from step to step. From
is it open to visitors also?
Yes, it is,
that
absolutely. So
interesting
everyone is welcome
Let's
to
do a
visit.
field trip.
Yes, yes,
Great.
absolutely. Because it's, you know, we are not able to comprehend how complex it is. So everyone is welcome to go in there, you know, talk to also our suppliers, because we want to bring them to frontlight, because no one knows, you know, who is the yarn supplier that made this textile. No one knows about it. No one knows where it's coming from. So it's also a lot about enabling designer to look into the value chain and see, you know, maybe what they can do, or at least be informed about how they can make these conscious decisions.
It's already great, because designers, product people are image thinkers, right? And if you give them an Excel, how it works, no offense, because there are left and right brainers, but I think it's great to walk through the value chain.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'm wondering if there's already, questions in the audience. Okay, maybe you can stand up for us and quickly introduce yourself. That's also because we record all the sessions. So when you stand up and we have cameras everywhere, then you will be more famous.
Well, I don't want to be more famous, but my name is Giovanni, and company name is Forward in Fashion. And I appreciate your ideals, and I think everybody here is here because of ideology. But what I see happening right now, if you talk about circularity, is that there are two major challenges. One is meeting customer quality expectations. If we talk about recycling, billing standard is too high or it doesn't meet the quality expectations compared to virgin materials. And second is price level. Circular products that are currently being offered many times are still more expensive than virgin. And these are two major hiccups that prevent circular products to become mainstream. And so I was looking at, I forgot your name, Mr. Zeeman. Yes. And I was wondering, how is Zeeman handling that major challenge, especially knowing the price level that you're working on? So how do you implement circularity and still keep the price level?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's very complex and there's not an easy way out. One of the approaches from Zeeman is that we do this step by step. And from the beginning, when we started to map our the compositions and the material uptake, we already found out that for some product groups, we already used a lot of regenerated cotton, for example, recycled cotton. But this, of course, was pre-consumer waste. But this was also more commercially interesting because the price of this cotton was cheaper than the regular cotton. So it's not always more expensive, but we agree that if you want to make the complete shift towards circularity, then there will also be a cost factor to be considered. And about the quality aspect, and here there's also a lot of technical research needed to see how you can make the right composition when using more and more recycled yarns. So with our volumes, it's also very sensitive because we want to keep the quality standard up to the level that our customers expect, but also make more steps towards more circular materials in our products. So there's not an easy way out. No.
Thanks, Arnoud.
Yeah.
And I would like to add actually something that we actually talked about yesterday when we had a quick phone call, that also Zeeman you can also work on circularity by being a large company, very much appreciated by the audience, and then bring value to the BV Nederland, right? So maybe not in every spectrum, but I think overall, and thinking more holistic, that is certainly also a contribution. I was wondering if there is a question out of a designer or this design, because the central question is, how can we support designers or design teams better? Is there anyone who works as a designer in a company who feels that wants to add something? Is it something that you feel that you can't address within your company? Any ideas how we can support designers? Because we would love to hear from you. Anyone? Leonie. Leontien, sorry. Alsjeblieft.
Leontien Wagenaar, former colleague of Stijntje, a while ago, working as a design consultant, over 30 years. But what I can contribute here first is that a good design takes time. And sometimes systems in a company are maybe not that efficient. For example, you need to design 600 styles, then they sample about 300 styles, and maybe they only sell 200 styles. So no, we don't have time to consider about how we can work more sustainable, and this is one of the things. Secondly, it's also, you need to know about what are, with Modin, by the way, they developed the fiber benchmark. I think it was about beginning last year, to consider about what yarns, materials you can use instead of non-recyclable products or biodegradable products and so forth. So you need to define your sustainable development goals in advance. Also means that, maybe I take too much time.
I will sign you in, Leontien. Get to the point.
Yeah, but there's so many points actually to consider.
No, it's great to hear you talk about that.
where is the material come from? You know, sometimes it's coming from a factory in Bangladesh, then it needs to be shipped to Korea, then it will be manufactured, then it's on a boat, or nowadays the boat isn't an option anymore, so you need to fly it. Well, this is all about footprint. So to have a clear picture of where your product is made and where all the materials come from is also a challenge which you can make not only as a designer, you need to do that with your product development department as well. Well,
Thanks, Leontien.
Can I add to that? Because
Yeah, sure.
I think we get a lot of questions in the company, but also at TextPlus, asking if we can print a fabric for a designer. And I just ring them up, and then after a while, I discover, well, it's not printing what they mean, but they see weaving as printing. And they think, yeah, you push a button and the textile comes out. Well, anyone who has ever been in a factory knows that the machines stop more often than that they work. So it's a difficult process. And what we do is we invite designers over to just see the factory and see with their own eyes what it entails to make a fabric. That threading the machine is manual labor. That warp threads can break, that you have to fix them, and there's a combination of craftsmanship, technology, all things that make a textile appear. And yeah, that's what really resonated with me with how BYBORRE does that, just inviting people over. And with TextPlus, we try to do the same with monthly question hours, so that people can just ask us anything about recycling process and the various steps in the supply chain, just educating and telling the story over and over again, because I think that if a designer knows what it entails to make the actual product, then the design becomes better as well.
Yeah, I think because talking about education is not that we have to go into the school banks again. We want to collaborate more, and if you share knowledge, that is, it smartens yourself also, and that's a great idea. And Leontien, what you said is also, we all work in a system that was invented by, with all respect, a lot of older people. It's a linear thinking. It's a very masculine system. And I'm not a feminist, but I think when you think so linear and you put into account that we need to think more holistic and more into ecosystems, which is absolutely a trending topic in today, but I think also tomorrow. It needs a new leadership, and it needs, I think as a designer, you have to be involved in this ecosystem and not be separate in a company. I always say the best designers are product developers. And I think that's, I go to you. Everybody, a voice. Oh, I didn't drink yet.
Hello, thank you. I'm Nienke from Cradle to Cradle. When we talk about design, we all think about the biological or technical cycle. So it would be great if designers would design a product while having the biological or the technical cycle in mind, which means biological, that it could break down naturally and very clean to the earth, and also deliver nutrients to new trees or plants or wherever. We can grow cotton from it, for example. And the technical cycle would be the R strategies, so reuse or remanufacture or refurbish. So that's our really important kind of concepts to keep in mind. And I think we need also the leverage of a designer in a company also to influence all the others that we need also to shift.
Yeah, that's great. There will also be a talk about this R.
Yeah. I
Stijntje,
totally agree, and I think it can also be both. Because at Fibershed we really believe in the biological cycle, because all should go back into the earth. But once you sell it, you go also into the R strategies for a long time, so you don't want to go straight into the earth. So I think it's both you have to combine. And I agree, you have to know this as a designer and be able to do it. And of course, it's all part of the whole, it's also, a company is also a holistic or ecosystem, right? So you have to work together. And I would like to add also to you both, because I think when we produce a little bit more locally, because now we have a lot of companies in the Netherlands that design and they do product development, but it's all produced far away and in different countries. And so I think if we produce more locally, you can see it with your own eyes. And it's not only important for the designers, but also for the consumers or for the public, that we see the value of the clothes again, because now it looks like you buy a t-shirt at my children are not allowed to go there, but anyway, at Primark for €3, or at Shine, even worse. And you wear it and you throw it away because it feels like a disposable product. And I think also this whole idea about the value of clothing, and that we can keep it longer, and that there are a lot of hours and resources in it, it really helps also to bring it closer to home again.
So back to the question again, how can we support design better, is maybe to, go more into that value chain, where we used to, I think you brought that example up, that in the older days, and we're part of that, we went to Liedewij Edelkoort, or we did a color, so that was a total other mechanism. Then now we can, connect also through data with our audience, etc., and we are able also with your mission to bring production more closely, that you can work. And that's why I say a product developer might be even a better designer, because when you see what is possible. And Anisha, you also, I think it's interesting maybe also to answer a question from the public. You work on the intersection of research, design, and technology. Can you share us a little bit what the advantage is of this? Because it's quite new, to have like this triangle of things. Maybe you can inspire also the audience with, the inspiration that you get from that.
Yeah, definitely. I think having like this intersectional or multidisciplinary company, because we work a lot with, our suppliers, but also designers. So I think that perspective and that sharing of ideas is really enriching to coming up with new innovation, because I think what happens in textile industry is that, everyone works in different silos and no one really talks to each other. Yeah. So also the main objective of having this space that I mentioned earlier, the showroom space, is also to bring all of them together in one space and, talk to each other about these collaborations, so designers, but also people from the company that can come together and talk about these ideas, because no one is communicating with each other, and no one knows what's happening. It's just in these silos that the work is happening. So that leads to complex interactions. I think someone has a question there. But
I'm coming.
Yeah, no, but I think having this intersection really helps you as a company to move towards newer systems, new processes, and also collaboration. So as a company, we do a lot of collaborations with different, artists. So the jacket that I'm wearing now is one of the Amsterdam-based artists that, that we did in collaboration with her. So her paintings were converted into a textile. Yeah. So it's a lot about collaborations with our suppliers, with artists, with our packaging partners. So we want everyone to talk to each other, because no one can do it alone, because we need to talk to each other about these things. Yeah. So it definitely helps to be at that intersection. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because we have to unify, and then, we can start. I don't remember, there was you, sorry.
Hello, my name is Tanna from Dictionary, and I've been present at these kind of events more often. But I want to keep talking about what you're saying. Actually, nobody is really openly sharing with each other, and I think that's the key here. And also earlier we spoke about the older generation and the younger generation coming in. From heritage point of view, it was a custom that they kept, their knowledge and their craftsmanship to themselves, and that's stuck with the older generation. And now the younger generation comes in, who's all about sharing is caring, that type of thing, and also social media. And I think we gotta find a way to build bridges between those two generations, because I work in several directions in the textile industry, and I noticed that that's where the clash is happening, because the older generation is so afraid, they lose their business over their craftsmanship, but it's not about that. I think we have to really find that collaboration with each other in a generation, but also crossing those generations together. That's
But I
Super.
kind of disagree a little bit, because I experienced that.
There's
I've
always an exception, of
Yeah.
course. But
No,
we
but I
gotta
think that the master-apprentice model also really works in textiles, so that the more traditional elderly weavers, for instance, are very keen on sharing their weaving knowledge. They're sometimes a little bit like, sustainability, that's all new, and should we do that? But I think co-creation is the key in everything we hear here today, that
but
collaborating, discussing.
exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know
That's
if
what I'm
it's-
trying to emphasize. Like we have to keep doing that, but even enlarge it, do it more. Find more of those apprentices, because there are no sons or daughters anymore to give their craftsmanships to. So the younger generation has to find their openings into the textile industry, and those doors are now only on a little bit of a crack. And so nobody of the younger generations finds it really hard to find those doors, because from back in the day, those doors were closed or unfindable.
Yeah, that's why we also do a lot of apprenticeships. That we have specifically an apprenticeship program within the company, because we want this tradition of, making textile to teach to the students, because otherwise you don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. You just receive a textile and
exactly.
So I think it's not just generations, because I'm from the older generation as well. I think it's I think it's a lot
Where
of them
does
are
it
here.
start
Yeah, a lot of
actually?
them.
Old. Is there a line?
No, but I think it's more the mindset, and it's more the old system way of thinking and the new way. And with Fibershed, we on purpose make the link between the agricultural, the arts and crafts, and all the heritage and all the knowledge that is there. And also, of course, new technology and designers and makers. And I think that's really very nice way to connect and to learn from each other. Because sometimes we get the question, what you want to do is impossible, and but it's already happening in the Netherlands. It's already happening, but it's not on the official radar. It's happening in small startups, but also behind closed doors in houses. There are people already working with textiles, dyeing with plants, making their own yarns, knitting, making nice carpets already for years and years, and they share it with their friends and they do it together. So it's not an official company, but it's there, and it's really interesting to connect these people to new young designers or people who want to learn, and also to the agricultural sector. And then we have startups, which are SME companies that also want to do this whole biocircular local supply chain. And it's a very nice net, because Fibershed is a network, so we connect all these people and we put them on the platform, we work together, we see where the challenges are and what do you need to scale up or to make it a little bit more medium industrial scale, and also to find partnerships. And it really helps. So I think generation is immediately going to ages. I think it's a mindset and it's a willingness to collaborate. And sometimes we talk with people and they already sit in it with a more competitive mindset. And then we say, okay, well, fine. You don't need to join.
Yeah,
I think it's great if you join, because you can add a lot to the network and we can learn from each other. But if you feel uncomfortable about it, then don't do it.
Of course, it's a free world. But maybe there's a good example to share, because Arnoud, talking about a collaboration, you had a collaboration Zeeman did with TextPlus. And maybe, Arnoud, you can explain about this collab, because I think, Stijntje, I agree with you, but sometimes you need the companies like Zeeman, right? The bigger companies to give it a platform. But Arnoud, can you tell us a little bit about this collab, and Annemieke can join you in sharing that story?
Yes, of course. I think we started 1.5 years ago with conversations, and then we decided to engage with TextPlus to see if we can produce a basic item for our assortment with the ambition to do this locally and with post-consumer waste only, and of course with the technical specifications that we need.
Yeah.
And we are very happy to be part of this, since my learning was also that normally if we buy an item after 9 months, it's in stores. It's quite a smooth process, and with a nice end result on a short notice. And here I learned it's all about the process, and the end product. Of course, is also nice, but it's not the main reason to explore how this would work locally.
Yeah, nice. And Annemieke, is your comment about it?
Yeah, I think the continuous conversation is really important, and also empowering each other in the steps you take, because I think Zeeman can resonate with that. That is easy for designers or consumers to criticize, like, yeah, it's only 50% recycled, instead of, wow, 50% recycled, great, off to 100%. And I think that, I have to say I was quite skeptical as well. Like, can we meet the price point of Zeeman? And we had to have the dialogue about expectations and what to expect from a product, and what is feasible, what is not, where do we get the feedstock from, and we adjusted the whole process several times already, and I think that, you just learn from that, and I think a next product would be 10 times faster on the market, but it's a learning process, and I'm really, I think it's really special that a party like Zeeman steps into a collaboration without even knowing if there's an outcome, and when there's an outcome.
Super.
Because that's not really how it usually works, so.
Yeah, and I think it's also great that it's really a partnership, right? And you start in earlier than you normally would just buy the fabric and make your product, but you start in before. So you join this whole fabric making process, and then, like you say, now it takes a long time, but later it will go faster. So you're also in it for the long run. And I think this is really important to get the new products and more circular products. We need geduldig kapitaal, I don't know how to say it. Patient capital and time, like Leontine also said. We need time to think about it and to renew and to investigate. And I think also, then I'm going to do my Fibershed. No, I just wanted to remark, sorry.
Perhaps a good example of collaboration, without giving too many spoilers, but the certain product should be 60 centimeters wide, and the average width of a fabric is 150. So there would have been a lot of fabric loss if we did 2 times 60 and then had 30 centimeters leftover fabrics. So at first it was about what to do with the leftover fabric. Can we make some use of it? But after a while, we just discussed, can we not change the size of the product to just divide the cloth in 2 and make that work? So we have a bigger product now. But it's really nice that you can have those discussions instead of just getting a design brief, like make this and we'll move on. So
great. And who was involved in this? Was it the 2 of you, or who were participating in this? Were the designers involved?
A whole
too?
teams group of people.
Yeah.
No, it's actually also Frankenhuis who makes fibers out of discarded textiles.
Yeah.
So normally they don't develop the end product, but they had really sensible comments about what to think of with the feedstock, for instance.
So can you compare it, maybe, as we know in tech, there are a lot, in front of us with the Scrum and Agile teams, that you have all different disciplines at the table to design a product? Could you, Arnoud, how did you look at it? Was it, because you also told me, wow, it was absolutely a challenge.
Yes, and it still is.
It still is,
It's not only the CSR department that is involved from our side, but also the buying team, the buyers, the buying assistants, the designers, to look into what should be the specifications and what can we do to adjust the size of the product and what would be a suitable product and how we will communicate it. And for sure, we will give our circular assortment a boost because we also hired a buyer, a full-time buyer, who will be sourcing locally for more circular products in our assortment. So we really believe that if we continue our business model like we did the past 55 years, that is not future-proof. So we are very much aware of that, but it also, it takes a lot of effort to change the direction.
But I think it's great that you as a company are also really open to these conversations, because that's how, you learn, right? That you are able to do these trial and errors, and only through that you're able to get to a point where, it's feasible to be in the market, because otherwise if no one is willing to collaborate with you or like put in that effort, then we will go nowhere. So it's also really good to know that, big companies like yours are slowly opening up to these kind of trials. So we also we have been doing a collaboration with MIT to test a post-consumer yarn, and we only do circular knitted textiles mostly. So we also face challenges there, because when it goes into the machine, that it needs to be certain strength, it needs to be certain quality, otherwise you have holes in your textiles. So it takes a lot of effort, time, and energy from everyone to be involved in a collaboration. So it's great to know that.
Yeah, but when the journey is important, when we let go of that the end product is but the journey, then it's energy, but it's great energy, I can imagine. And it does resonate with your remark, I think, about the generations and the closed doors, because I see it a lot also in my profession. I'm around and about at a lot of companies, and there is actually no co-creation, there's no open space, we don't have Gen Z in the board, there is I hardly know any company who is open to a discussion with new generations, with circular comments, and I don't know if that I'm just so curious, because I'm always very positive, right? It sounds a little bit negative, but I'm just curious. Is there anybody in the audience working in a company, you don't have to share the name of the company, that you see opportunities? Is there a voice within the company to talk about this? And if you want, you can stay anonymous. Oh no, you can't anymore. You're on the film. Can you stand up for us? Thanks.
I'm Jordes. I'm a designer at Garcia, and as far as I'm experiencing it, like Garcia is really open for the whole circular and sustainable process. We just had a talk also, a workshop about the circular design. And we actually noticed that Garcia is, we are getting started with 3D, so already thinking about how we can produce less, starting with
or maybe
3D.
Even digital skins.
Exactly, yeah. So we are really busy with that, and they are really open, for discussion. So that's really nice. But from my point of view as a designer, like we just had a workshop, and I think, okay, I have a lot of trims in my product group for tapes. Okay, where do I go to? Because that's also when you shred it down, like what is the best tape to use, or what I don't know yet. So that's really like how, exactly, like we need to come all together as designers and talk about this.
Outside of our companies,
so
right?
maybe it's up to you.
I would love to do that. Actually, we had a talk because we had the vice president of the denim PVH Denim Center, and he was also talking about this triangle that we need, like policy, we need companies, but we need to work together. And then I must say, there are great initiatives, but it's still a struggle. I think we need CEOs of ecosystems. We need other kind of roles. Maybe we have to think about another company, not a GmbH or a BV. We need to maybe, I don't know if there are policy people here, but maybe we need to find out another, not a foundation, but a new company
You see the
structure.
steward-owned companies now, eh?
Yeah.
Steward-owned, or it's like a cooperative, but steward-owned is also like the shareholders are no shareholders, but stakeholders.
Yeah.
And you invest in the company and you get a certain amount of profit, and then it stops. And then mostly it's a foundation or a group of stewards who are protecting the vision of the company, so that
Exactly.
not just one person or a group of persons think, okay, nice vision, but I still want to fill my pockets and I want to buy 3 cars, or I don't know. But it's really so then when you invest in these kind of companies, you also know that your money is in the right place.
Yeah, but I think we need
And
to
it's-
bring to strategic level.
Yes, yes,
so
but
we-
it's a
I think we all
strategic
need to
choice.
think
It's
big.
a strategic
Yeah.
choice to
Yeah.
do this. So there
Yeah.
are new kind of
Yeah.
companies or become a B Corp or cooperative or collective, or there are a lot of ways. But I think it's difficult for companies who are already there to, I don't know if
To
you really
change, you
change,
mean.
then it's, yeah.
Nou ja, but we have the example.
No, no,
not as a
exactly.
promotion of Zeeman, but
Yeah.
yeah, we have an example that it's
No, but
it's
that you don't
possible.
need to
And I
change
think,
the
and that's actually also what we hope that would be a takeaway, right? We talked about that in the beginning, that we start a conversation outside of this space at the drinks, and then take it to your peers, to your colleagues, to your manager. You have a great story to tell, to bring all this, the content, and moving further on. And yes, we should think about something that we can, keep on collaborating and conversating with each other. I see a raised hand. Why are you so far away? Here.
Hi, my name is Anne and I work for the National Institute of Public Health and the Environment, which is RIVM. And I'm also wondering, how as a designer do you know which option is actually more sustainable? Because sometimes also there are trade-offs, like something that is more that you can recycle, maybe actually costs a lot of energy. We haven't talked about also using hazardous substances, or also like PFAS are being used to waterproof clothing, which ideally we would also eliminate from the design phase. Recycled fibers give off microplastics. There's many different issues, and I think also there actually what we've seen, you need also collaboration actually with everybody to gather the data and to actually start to see which options are actually now the best ones. And I wonder what are also very concrete tools, or what could help designers to also make sure that the choices they make are actually at least in the right direction.
Yeah, I can respond to that. I think during the past months we are preparing a document named Design Practices, and we gained a lot of input from external stakeholders and experts, and this will be a kind of guidance to be used during the design process. That if they make decisions about the composition, that they know where to focus on, and that this would be a good decision and this would be a less good decision. Or if you look at accessories, that you also give input on how to handle decisions about accessories. Or when using printing on items, that you make an A-grade printing technique and an E category with worse or bad printing techniques. So here we want to facilitate using this document, and also here we need the commitment from the board and also from the buyers. That if a designer makes a sustainable item, which is well thought of, and then a buyer decides, no, I need a better margin, and I make a different decision, that's also not motivating the designer, and it's also not bringing us any further. So with embedding this in our working ways, we believe we get more grip on making next steps.
Great. Yeah, because that is also resonates with this generations, maybe not of age. Let's not talk generation out of age, also in my own profit. But generation is a mindset, right? And I think we come from a generation where a buying-driven environments were like, as a designer, you just did what the buyer wanted, right? And I think it's great to make that transition. Was there a question from the audience?
Hello, I'm Marie Renee. I'm from Artex. We are a window covering company for Hunter Douglas. So I do a lot of textiles, but not clothing, no fashion. But I'm very interested in all the sustainability, and we are looking for all better ways to purchase with the right materials. And I was wondering, you were talking about the document of design. do you also have then a no-go, for example, that you say you can't use yarn dyed, but you can use dope dyed because it's much greener, or you can't use polyamide, or do you have such stops, so to say, that you say, okay, until here and not further?
We will include the do's and don'ts in the manual, but I believe it's also important to have the discussion during the whole process, and that we make conscious decisions, and that we have the conversation internally rather than prescribing this you can do or this you cannot do. If you create awareness by the decision makers, I believe then it comes more from the person itself than by somebody telling them what to do.
And also, as a supplier, we also do wall coverings and upholstery, for instance. What we always do is we advise our customers, like what is the end use of the fabric that you are purchasing. And it was mentioned by the gentleman before, pilling values, martindale values. We try to discuss that, like, is it really necessary? Because there's a race to the top, and everybody wants to have more martindale and better abrasion qualities. And isn't there a level where it's enough, and where a natural fiber is more important than the higher abrasion standard, for instance? So, and in that discussion, you also make, our customers often make design adjustments based on how we advise them.
And I think we also sometimes forget the use phase of a textile or a product, because, of course, not coming from like virgin fossil fuel products or something, but maybe if a product is being used for 10 years, 20 years, then of course, you know, the impact that it has is rather than buying new and rather than making more, we're able to pass that down from generation to generation, because, you know, in Middle Ages, you would have textile considered as gold, you know, that they would pass just a piece of linen down from one generation to the other. So it's also, I think, a lot about functionality and value, and how, you know, devalued our textiles have become. So I think, we forget also how many times, or the use phase of a textile or a product or anything. So that also should be in designers or creators' mind when they design, you know, what are they designing for? Maybe it can be used much longer than it should be.
Then you can use the LCAs, of course. They are starting up right now. So we
so we have that also.
Busy with that. So when we have a lot of LCAs, then you can compare that, and also for the customer, then you can get like a report or something, and that you can show what is better or not.
And I would
make
also
the choices.
like to add that I think if we want to have a new system and more circular and bio-based, then we also should have a new way of looking at it. And that maybe if you dye natural base yellow with curcuma, for example, you will not have 3,000 exactly the same yellows. But is this a bad thing? You know, now we say we have to change the whole natural dye because we have to make 3,000 exactly the same yellows, but we can also change our mind and think, wow, this is natural base, what great, it's different, because denims are also not all the same if they're washed and scratched.
We have that problem now already with the recycled polyester.
Yeah.
It's more hard to reproduce the same color. And I asked for our business to business, we asked, can you accept a lower color deviation? So for example, we now have 4 or 4 to 5 on the grayscale. And then we have to shift to 3 or 3 to 4. And they said, no, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So we have to re-dye more. It's also not green. That's so difficult to change everybody within the organization. And I had another question.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. To produce locally, I'm interested in that, but it's very difficult for us. Don't you need then the legislation to shift to that, because it's much more expensive, I think. So how do you think you can shift to that without the legislation, or are you waiting for that to come? Or Zeeman, you are also busy with that, so I don't think it's
Mr.
the same
Zeeman.
price.
Mr.
as-
Zeeman.
the same price as right now, is it?
Yeah, here again we are exploring what are the possibilities, and of course it all starts with a small scale, on a small scale, like the collaboration with TextPlus, like another collaboration we have with second-hand department store Het Goed. We sell now in 8 stores second-hand baby and ladies garments. So this is also a way that we look into new product categories, whether our customers also like this and if they can get used to this. And so far it's picked up well, but it's also, we also want to see if we can implement it in our smaller stores. We now focus on the bigger stores. And another collaboration we are planning to start with Circularity BV. This is actually a production unit in the Netherlands, in Etten-Leur. And a lot of machines are there waiting to start production. And here we are also looking into local production. And within Zeeman, we then focus on basics. So they are not sensitive to trends, and we have a long selling window. So it doesn't need a lot of markdown. So that's one of that's already in our DNA to look into to focus on basics and not on fashion. But we want to explore this further also locally.
And if you need a system change, you do need legislation or the government. You need companies. You need NGOs. You need them all to work together. But it starts somewhere small. And at the same time, there are a lot of people working on cutting VAT from second-hand or recycled materials, about paying the true price from all the other things that we import, because it's now not a fair comparison. So there are already a lot of things happening. It's not there yet, but I think if we all try on a small scale and influence each other, and maybe you can inspire again this customer and tell them the value, and tell them if you are the first to start, you also have the front runner marketing value, like Zeeman, Mr. Zeeman now has. You know, because this is how it starts. And I know legislation is also a part, but there is also a lot of lobbying going on
But
there. So
since this talk is also powered by Modins,
yeah,
I would have to mention the EPR, the extended producer responsibility. I think that is also something that will be really good for to have local developments around circularity and stimulate them. So it's basically that's parties that bring textiles to the market need to pay a small amount, which goes into a fund that enables companies to become more circular, things like that. And perhaps in interior textiles that should be implemented as well. Perhaps that's the next step.